if there's an order of court, especially the Supreme Court, and you're a party to that suit, and that order binds you, you have no option than to abide by the orders and the directives of the courts. This is the apex court. You have no other opportunity to appeal it except to pray to God. And being the apex court, once a pronouncement of the Supreme Court has been made, it doesn't leave you any option than to obey and comply. Otherwise, you will be in contempt of not just the court, but also in contempt of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is quite, if you look at it critically, it may amount to treasonable felony.
All right. Did the local government election, I mean, the one held in the state on October 5, 2024, did it violate the Constitution and the Electoral Act? There are different interpretations as regards to what happened on that said day.
Now, you see, we have gone past the argument of whether or not the election was valid. The Supreme Court haven't found that the election did not comply with statutory provisions of the Electoral Act and probably the Constitution. If the Supreme Court has reached that finding and made a pronouncement thereof, it is not open to any further debates from you, from I, or any Nigerian. It stands to be the final decision of the Supreme Court, and everybody must line behind that decision of the Supreme Court, which is that the election itself was conducted in breach of statutory provisions. And now that the Supreme Court has annulled the election, it behooves the parties involved, to which the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RISEC, to go back to the drawing board and look at the judgment of the Supreme Court and see the areas where the Supreme Court pointed out the laws that were in breach, if there was any, or if it was because of the order of courts which was extant at the moment, because I'm aware that there was an order of court restraining INEC from releasing the voters' register. And if that order was still subsisting, and it's on that basis that the court is saying that there's no how the election would have been conducted without publishing of the authentic voters' register from INEC, then what it means is that the Supreme Court is directing all parties to go back to the court, all right, and conclude the matters that were before the court. That order needs to be either vacated or whatever it is, the issues that were in contention in that litigation ought to be resolved before the elections are conducted. Don't forget, this is not the first time this is happening. In 2015, if I remember, in Rivers State, there was an issue like that where the APC, there was a restraining order from a federal high court restraining them from going ahead with the conduct of their party congresses. And in defiance to that order, the party went ahead and conducted the congresses that produced candidates for election. And towards the election period, it was found that the congresses were not supposed to hold because of the injunctive order which was in place. And for that reason, APC was excluded from the election because everything that came out of those congresses were found to be illegalities and they were declared a nullity. So this is not the first time it's happening in Rivers State. There was an order of court restraining INEC from releasing voters' register to RISEC, and the register, according to INEC, was not released. And if that register was not released, it means therefore that the election was conducted without the publication of register, authentic register from INEC. And that is a breach, a fundamental breach to the process and procedure for conducting elections in any part of the country. So if that's the reasoning of the Supreme Court, well, the governor and the government of the state has no problem abiding that decision of the court. Is to go back and look at those gray areas correct those errors, and then the election will still hold. It's not a big deal.
Well, this all traces back to the defection of the state's 27 lawmakers as well in terms of the conversation. But what does the law say about the political defection in Nigeria? Now, there comes a case where many have said until there's a handwritten letter that has been issued to the political party, especially by the 27, in quotes, defected members, that's the only time they can be termed to have defected to a new political party. But holding flags and waving them doesn't in any way show that they have defected. What's your take on this, and what does it hold when it comes to tenets of the law?
Well, defection is in itself not unconstitutional. Don't forget the freedom of association, freedom to hold and express opinion are all guaranteed by the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Everybody has the right to freely associate in any group, in any political party, in any association, as you think fit at any moment, at any stage in your life. Nobody is against anybody defecting from any political party to another political party. Having said that, when it has to do with defection and the subject matter in Rivers State, well, the procedure for defection, it is neither here nor there. What we know is that the 27 lawmakers, by their own volition, in exercise of their fundamental right of freedom of association, decided to jump ship, to leave the PDP, and decided to join the APC. And the fact of their defection is a notorious fact. It's a fact which they themselves cannot deny, as it were, today, because they are contained in several legal instruments. First is that the letter of their defection was read during plenary on the floor of the House on the day they defected. And that letter was read by the then Speaker, who was the presiding officer on that day. That letter was read in the front and in the face of both print media and other media houses, right? So the fact of their defection is not a matter of conjecture. It's a matter of fact, and evidence abound to that effect. A letter was written, signed, and read out during plenary by the then Speaker, Martins Amehule. And it didn't just end during the plenary. It took further steps, and they were received by the APC, both at the national and even at the state level. It was widely celebrated and widely published. And to seal this whole argument is the fact that they themselves actually went to court and swore to an affidavit. It can't be anything that is higher than that. Let's even assume that they did not write any letter to anybody declaring their defection. The fact that they went before a federal high court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and by themselves deposed to an affidavit about the fact that they have defected from the PDP and gave reasons why they defected. They were the ones who filed that suit by themselves. The affidavit was sworn on behalf of the 26 of them by the speaker, the former speaker himself. All those informations are in the public domain. So the issue of their defection is not even a matter of argument. You cannot approbate, and the law will not allow you to approbate and reprobate. If you by yourself said you are no longer in PDP and you've taken steps, physical, proactive steps, consciously by yourself, and everybody has seen it, and you now go to court and state these same facts before a court, I mean, you can't turn around and begin to and deny a fact that is so obvious and so notorious. And in fact, sometimes some of these things are things that even the court should actually take judicial notice of, because they are facts that we call notorious facts. So whether or not anybody comes to inform the court ought to take judicial notice of the fact of the defection of these 27 lawmakers. They have defected their seats were declared vacant immediately after their defection by the new speaker who took over at that time, Edison Ehie. Okay? That declaration of vacancy was communicated to the PDP. The PDP national, don't forget recently, to the national chairman, has also called on INEC to conduct the by-election in Rivers State. So if the party itself has already accepted the defection of these 27 lawmakers and have also, in line with the provisions of the Constitution and the party constitution written to INEC to conduct a by-election, then the fate of the 27 lawmakers, as far as this issue is concerned, has been determined, as the case may be.
All right. Thank you so much, lawyer and political analyst Eugene Odey, for speaking with us here on News Now.